Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie.
Attention, all true believers. Marvel Comics is on the air.
A friend of the unfortunate, enemy of criminals. In reality, Dan Garrett, a rookie patrolman, loved by everyone but suspected by none of being the Blue Beetle.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality. Faster than an airplane, more powerful than a locomotive, impervious to bullets.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another Best Coast Comics. I'm one of your hosts, Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and I'm joined by my always faithful sidekick,
Sir Isaac Newton.
Yes.
Oh, wait. Big B McFly. How come I can't ever remember that?
I'm always curious to see which one you come up with. Isaac Newton. I mean, hey, I'm a big fan of all of your laws, man. Good job.
Gravity.
It's a pretty good one. Pretty good one. Welcome everybody to the show. We're back to a normal format for our show. Last week we had the claim sale. Thanks to everybody that popped in for that or that watched on the rewind. This show we're going to kind of do that newer format we've been doing. Just kind of give everybody a heads up here real fast about some notes. First off, if you're watching us on one of our YouTube channels or anywhere else for that matter, hey, thanks for watching us. You can watch on Big B McFly's channel on YouTube. You can watch on my channel on YouTube, and any of the EXP channels like Facebook, their YouTube channel, Twitch, Instagram, all that stuff. And links for those are in the description below. So definitely go check those out and sub them up. And our topics tonight are going to range. We're going to start off talking about just our week and how things have been going with us and talking a little bit about personal and life kind of stuff. And then we're going to get right into our topic, which is basically a nerd fight, right? We're going to talk about who we think is the best fighter in comic books, basically kind of like a martial artist, but we're not talking like Superman or the Flash, who has like powers that can kind of come up, make up for their shortcomings in fighting necessarily. But we're talking about hand-to-hand combat, like who's going to come out on top. So we have that topic, and then we're going to get to some of the news. We haven't talked about news in a while, so there's actually quite a few things we haven't really kind of discussed. And we're going to, of course, share all of your community art, so we appreciate that. No matter what channel you're watching on out there, we do appreciate those thumbs up and subscribing to all those channels like I mentioned before, so thank you for doing that. Let's say hello to everybody who joined us today in chat so far. Derek is in the chat. Thanks, Derek, for being here. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. GT Key Comic is here, and not only is GT Key Comic here with his standard emojis he drops in, he's also calling out Richard. Where you at, Richard? Where you at? Richard's right here. He's here. Thanks all of you for being here. We appreciate you on all the channels. It looks like that you're saying hello on. Richard apparently woke up late. We all know how that goes. Bronze medal this week. That's perfect. And Richard says, you guys are on too late for me over here on the East Coast. I'll cut to the chase. Answer to this question is Herbie Popnecker, best fighter ever, he says.
The Fat Fury.
Thanks, Rich. We appreciate that. I like the best fighter ever. I like that part. And then let's see, we got Psycho Phil's in here. He's stuck at work with major server problems. Hopefully this is reaching you just fine through the YouTubes. Probably server problems on the other side, I assume. So this is playing on the 80-inch conference room TV. Man, I never thought our heads would get that big, but it's happened. It's finally happened.
Just when you thought we couldn't get in our heads is bigger.
Comic Tropes, shout out to Comic Tropes. I'll be talking about him here in a minute when we get to one of our segments, because I actually crossed paths with the Tropes of Comics earlier this week. He can defeat any drawing of a superhero. I don't know. There's some like one of those giant um uh pieces of art they put on the side of a building during like San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con. What if that fell on you? Could you defeat that? Pride cometh before the fall, they say. Christina's in the house. What's up, Christina? Hello, hello. It's rough watching the show from the East Coast. Yeah, and that's why, we kind of leaned into the Best Coast theme because we knew basically because of my schedule more than anything else. I'm sure Big B could accommodate an earlier time somewhere else in the week. It's really hard for me to stream earlier than 8 o'clock Pacific any day of the week unless I make really special arrangements, like childcare, that kind of stuff. So we do what we can, and that's why we appreciate you checking us out wherever you're at. Newton did love those apples. What do you think? Do you think Newton was a Fuji, or was he like a Red Delicious kind of guy? Well, what do you think he was into?
Golden Crisp, Honey Crisp.
Yeah, most of those probably weren't even around when I guess he was alive. Now I think about it. Probably like a Red Delicious or a Granny Smith is pretty much all you had, right? Steve's in the house and he says, best fighter in theory, it's Trico Slatterus, the champion of the universe. I don't know that person.
I think let me look that up.
Yeah, you check that out. Steve. And this is, Big B and I talked about this before the show. At least I said this. I don't know if Big B kind of agreed. I had a hard time thinking of a lot of like indie comic book related fighters that would compete here, because I think the general problem is a lot of them don't have very large universes to see their feats in, like who they've defeated, that kind of stuff.
He's a Marvel character. He's around
the
Bronze Copper Age a lot.
Oh, well, okay. Here I am talking about indie characters, and we got a Marvel character we're discussing that I've just never heard of. Interesting. So we might have to add him to the list. We got Awesome Sauce Radio in the house. What is up, Adam? Love to see you.
Human strength, martial arts, and agility. First
there we go.
Marvel 2-in-1. And the Guardians of Galaxy. There we go.
Eddie's going to throw this out there because he got a lot of hatred earlier. Did he? I know it's not a comic, but the best fighter is Alan Richton's character, Reacher. Is it Richton or Rickton? I can't remember. There, I said it. I meant it. Now I'll behave. Why did that get a lot of hate? That show's pretty popular. Did he do something controversial or something? Or
I don't know. The big fight at the end of the newest season was really good.
I haven't watched. I think I only have the last episode or maybe the last two left to finish up on that show. I mean, there's a fight they've been foreshadowing all season long, so it's not surprising that that's going to be coming up, I'm sure. Is it with the largest guy in the world or whatever, the largest strong man in the world?
Yeah. Pretty brutal.
Shout out to him. I wish I could remember his name, and more importantly, how to pronounce his name. He actually commented on one of my videos at one point.
Really?
And it was really him too, because I talked about he played Ursa Major in the Black Widow movie.
Oh, right.
And so I made a video about that because they were saying essentially he was saying, or the director or something, that he was a mutant, and so he was technically the first mutant in the MCU by some measures.
Yeah, in the books he's a mutant, right? So
yeah, and I mean I think it could have just been, actor says something and everyone's kind of like, but I mean, it's kind of interesting. If he's a mutant, he got his arm snapped, but good, by Red Guardian. What's on the comic rack? Hello, thanks for joining the show. Says Thor is the best fighter in the Marvel Universe. He has been fighting for over 1,500 years with or without weapons. Yeah, and this is, I'll be honest, when we get to that topic, there's going to be a really hard thing to do where we have to like separate out characters with powers, and yet some powered characters should still probably be in this, right? Like, I think, characters like Daredevil and Wolverine should be in this discussion, but not necessarily for Wolverine's adamantium claws or healing factor, but just because of his fighting ability and being a martial artist. But you can't completely take that stuff out of the equation either, right? But I also think, somebody like Taskmaster needs to be in the conversation, but somebody like Thor or Superman, I feel like you're kind of in like this different caliber of characters. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not, and we're not necessarily talking about who would win an all-out ultimate battle of ultimate destiny or whatever between all the characters and all the universes either. And you got to get all your Superman type characters in there and all that stuff, and your minor gods and all that. Jay cheats. He comes in twice. We got to boost those numbers, folks.
That's right. That's right.
In practice, perhaps North Star.
Fist of the North Star.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, manga character.
Not again. There, of course, is my area of weakness usually. What's up, comic tropes? Hoping to see some trailers from CinemaCon tomorrow or during the week. Cough, Superman cough. Yeah, that would be fun, right? I keep seeing like early screening BS about that movie. Like everyone says that it doesn't have a plot or it's one note or something like that. And I get so tired of seeing that kind of stuff.
I saw something that said like early screenings were positive. So I don't know.
Well, and that's just it. I feel like most of it's just clickbait. Like I don't think there's probably much to it, but I'm excited for that movie. Mr. Science Snake in the house. I always want to see the team up between Mr. Science Snake and, depending on which you're watching or reading, Seance Dog or Science Dog or whatever from Invincible. That'd be cool. In all seriousness, Comic Trope votes Captain America as the best fighter, then Snake Eyes, Batman is number 3. Okay. Yeah, definitely people we discussed in the preparation. We called that plan Preparation H, by the way. That was our preparation hero, Preparation H. Very important.
Hero.
We didn't want to be behind on the Preparation H.
You never want to be behind.
Never. Let's see. Any more hellos? Yeah. My computer can defeat me at chess, but I can beat it at kickboxing. I like that. That's a good comment, man.
Love it.
Well, but Derek, Red Delicious, I only say that because I think those other varieties weren't around back then. Yeah, Red Delicious is like the most, if what do they call like the pumpkin spice latte drinking, like college girls, they call them basic or whatever. Red Delicious is like the most basic apple.
It is the one you always got in your lunch when you were a little kid, right?
My parents didn't hate me, so I got better apples than that. And we live in Washington, so, or at least I do.
Yeah, he's the elder of the universe, right? Yep.
God, man, I have no knowledge of this guy.
Yep.
Muhammad Ali. There you go. The 2 on earlier don't care for it. Said it was boring. They eat spam, so they don't care. I eat spam, but I like Reacher. So do I count? I don't know. Do I have to count for half? Mr. Nope in the house. What's up, Mr. Nope? Okay. Ooh. Well, now that I think of it, how can anyone beat Paste Pot Pete? He could get his opponent sticky.
That's right.
I mean, you can't argue with that logic. Yeah, it's Olivier Richters, I believe is how you pronounce it. But yes, that is who it is. Thank you, Jay. Yeah, Daredevil is certainly going to be one we discuss for sure. He made the cut of, at least in the conversation. Ooh, Karnak, Lady Shiva.
Yeah, definitely in the conversation.
Like Steve and Bleeker are saying here, Shang-Chi, definitely one we talked about early on. Willie Lumpkin.
High up on my list for sure.
Yep. No, I've never read Thanos Quest. I mean, I probably did so here's the problem. A lot of stuff I read 30 years ago or 25 years ago, I just don't remember.
Right.
And enough that like I remember bits and pieces of it, but it all jumbles together, which is why I go back, and I have been over the last few years kind of rereading a lot of older comics, because I don't know what it was, well, actually I probably do know what it was. I had a pretty bad car accident at one point. I kind of had some traumatic brain stuff happen. So I think some of that memory kind of stuff kind of went away. Not permanently, it's not a permanent ongoing issue, but the memories of the time kind of went away. So
The Punisher, Prof X. There we go.
Professor X.
For
Snake
sure.
Eyes and Storm Shadow. Yeah, definitely in the conversation. But there, I think there's some really strong contenders out there. But I love that people are going to keep talking about this. Please do keep dropping in names in the chat because we're gonna come back to a lot of them when we talk about this.
Right.
But we do need to talk about our week. Anything happen in your week that you want to discuss, man? Anything going on? Any cool comics, stories?
The
TV
highlight
shows,
of my
movies?
week was I got to hang out with this Christopher guy on Saturday.
Yeah, that was pretty fun, man. Yeah, we had got some lunch and exchanged some stuff, and then went and got some coffee and just basically talked for hours, right?
Yeah, we got thrown out of the coffee shop. It closed down.
Closed down the coffee shop. No, that was a good time. I alluded to this earlier. I went up to Chris's release for Radiant Black 32 at Stargazer Comics in Tacoma, Washington, and saw him and saw West Coast Avengers. Dave from West Coast Avengers was there as well. Picked up some new comic books. Got a couple comics signed and remarked by the man Comic Tropes himself. Yeah, exchange some stuff. Comic stuff.
By the way, go out and pick up that new Radiant Black.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So real fast. Show that off. Why did I alphabetize all of these comic books? That was silly.
Yeah.
These two go together. Just habit, I guess. So here is Chris. This is the standard cover for Chris's new issue. I picked up an issue there. I've got a few coming in the mail too, but he was nice enough to personalize it. Did a quick little remark there. You can kind of see in bronze, which is very appropriate. So that was cool.
Absolutely, that's really cool.
Yeah, appreciate that. And then I had one of his Vampirella covers that he did on his Indiegogo, and I got the no trade dress version up there, the Virgin. So had him sign that. He did a quick little Vampirella remark up there too, which is really cool. There's Chris's cover for Vampirella he did for Dynamite.
That's awesome.
Kinda included as many tropes as he could, including the
that's a great remark. That's cool.
Yeah. So I appreciate that for friend of the channel, Chris, aka Comic Tropes, aka comic book writer, artist. Definitely go give him a follow, folks, and check out his newest issue of Radiant Black. He does the backup story in that issue. I picked up some stuff which I don't normally do at comic book shops on New Comic Book Day because I don't really have like a genuine LCS that's real close to me that I didn't get kicked out of at one point.
Yeah.
Which is a story on my
we
video
still have
on
to
my
cover
channel.
that story at some point.
We do. But I, real quick, I'll just kind of show up a couple things, I guess. But picked up the foil Hush Batman 158.
That's super cool.
Which I've heard a lot of people apparently are kind of complaining about. Apparently,
Really?
But yeah, I haven't read the issue yet. I actually have been super busy ever since then, except for Saturday. But I did get a Nakayama Harley Quinn. Thought that was cool.
Nice.
Choose your own fighter.
Hey,
Select
that's
your fighter
appropriate
screen.
for the show.
Yeah, I thought that
Select your fighter.
makes sense. I'm one of the 5 people that bought the Partacular special, probably. Thought my daughter would get a kick out of it. We haven't read it yet, but picked up the Sozamika Pop Kill cover.
Nice.
And let's see. Oh yeah. Did get, because I'm just a lecherous weirdo, I picked up the Street Fighter swimsuit special because they had this kind of neat variant cover on it. Thought that was kind of cool. And then I did get a wall book. I picked up a Witchblade #1 that looked pretty crispy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
There you go. I love that cover.
Yeah. So that was neat. But more importantly than all that, I got to support a friend of the channel and somebody I consider a friend in real life. Jim Lee. No, it's Chris. But I did get the 11x17 Hush foil crazy giant comic too.
That's pretty cool. Does it have like black and white art on the inside, or?
So it is here. So ridiculous. Feels like a prop from like a movie or something. I mean, it
Okay.
is just
Full size book. That's cool.
full size comic book, man. You know, standard size.
Oversized.
It is just bonkers, man. So I call it the hard. If you're hard of vision, you're gonna have no problem reading that one.
Visually impaired version.
Which I make the joke about it because without my glasses right now, and even with my glasses,
If I didn't have my glasses, I'd have a hard time reading. I'd need books that size.
Figuratively,
as well as literally.
It's a matter of opinion, I think. Yeah, I know it's crazy that people would be out there complaining on, like, who goes on the internet and just complains about things. I don't get it. Anyways, I want to complain about some stuff. Yeah, I origami it up into like a little batarang, and that's how I get it inside the long box. It only fits in lengthwise, and then you gotta just fold it over. Dan Wickline, regular sized comic. That's funny. So when did that? You know, and would be remiss if I didn't talk about hanging out with my buddy over here and showing off. I mean, this is mostly stuff from the claim sale, actually. But I may as well show off a couple things real fast that we exchanged, right?
Oh yeah.
First full appearance of Bastion, got that from Big B. First Team America, Captain America there. That's pretty cool. Got sort of a trinity of the John Walker storyline, Cap No More kind of stuff, including the literal Captain America No More. And then the first John Walker as Cap. First New Brotherhood and Cap Annual 4. See, this is why if you're jealous of any of these books, it's why you should come to our claim sale. And then that awesome and gorgeous Mike Zeck Cap Annual number 8 as well with Wolverine, Captain America. This is the one that to me is super appropriate for tonight's show,
right?
For our topic. And then if you're just like into boobs, then I got this Warren Lau Vampirella from his store. That's kind of my pickups and stuff like that.
Well, both of my pickups from you were fighters, so
there you go.
Yelena Belova and Battle Beast.
Battle Beast, yeah. There's an epic fighter.
That's true, right?
So we had a lot of fun. We got to talk about some plans, but mostly just hang out, it was kind of long overdue. So
yeah, it was just really cool to hang out and share and catch up and just commiserate on what's going on in life. And that's one of the best things about our friendship.
Yeah, absolutely. Lords of Brooklyn dropping in Karate Kid.
Karate Kid, I have him on the list. I have him on the list.
Swag, what's up, Swaggle House? Thanks for dropping in, man. We're kind of just catching up on stuff. I do want to mention, so we kind of started doing this thing where we talked about things we read or TV shows or movies or whatever. I finished. So my wife challenged me essentially to read a romantasy book, and I ended up reading the trilogy of books that's out so far. Talked about it before when I started reading this book called Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. It's part of the Empyrean Chronicles or the Empyrean. I can't remember what the name of the world is or whatever. But basically, dragon riders. It's a romantasy though, so it's kind of like a lot of lusty kind of Harlequin style stuff going on, as well as fantasy action.
That's super popular right now.
It is. It's very popular. Book talk, they call it, and all that kind of stuff on TikTok. It's kind of all taken off, right? I actually ended up kind of enjoying it because I don't mind cheesy, blocky kind of stuff like that every once in a while in comics. So I don't really mind it in books either or movies. It's kind of fine. There's a little too much, I would say maybe a little too much young adult style writing. It's not young adult material, but young adult writing. Because it's kind of hard to explain. I don't want to make it a giant review, but I did enjoy the books. Just finished the third one today. which is called Onyx Storm. It's the newest book. So, hey, if you're looking for a book to read and you want to kind of, maybe you got a significant other that's into those books and you're kind of wondering about reading them, I'd say they're worth reading. They're quick reads. And I hadn't read a fantasy book in a while, so I kind of enjoyed reading something that had like, magic and dragons and all that kind of stuff in it for the first time in a while. But what I did is I got the agreement to be that if I read the first book of that series, she'll read the first couple of volumes of Something is Killing the Children, which arrived today. So I got some hard copy trade paperbacks of those. And so I think tonight she's going to start reading Something is Killing the Children. And I'll report back with what she thought about those. So yeah, kind of doing a book club thing, I guess.
Yeah, I've a couple guy friends of mine, their wives have been drawn into comics from reading that. So
yeah, it's one of my like ones that I know she really enjoyed reading The Walking Dead, and I'm not gonna say like those two stories are extremely similar in a lot of ways, except for maybe almost like the pacing of the storytelling is kind of similar, and so I think she'll enjoy that kind of format for that book. But so I'm excited for that. I can't wait to talk about some comics with her again for the first time in a while. Hey, what's up, Tat Comics? How's it going?
Hey,
enjoy having you here. The Bronze and Copper Book Club. There you go. There's an idea. And Ozzy's seen the Care Bears take down a few peeps. Oh yeah, with their Care Bear stare.
It's like the penguin stare from Ghost Rider.
Oh yeah, but way more powerful. The Care Bears are terrifying if you think about it in real life.
Everybody wins.
I got halfway through that comment. I kind of have a tendency to read ahead in comments and just assume I know what they're going to say. I almost thought he was going to say her boobs or her butt. Like, oh, that's actually a question I could dive into.
Whoa.
He says, I love the Walking Dead comic. The show is okay, but like, yeah, the show, I really enjoyed the Frank Darabont. I don't know if it was just the first season or the first two seasons, but the first few seasons were pretty good. I think I watched for a while longer after The Farm, but I think The Farm kind of started to change things a little bit. I don't know. It still has merit, but it's just it went on too long.
Yeah, to me it got a little almost formulaic after a while, but
yeah. I believe I'm definitely going to be going, and I believe Bigby is going to try to go as well, right? Yeah. I'm also going to be at Washington State Summer Con.
What weekend is that? That in June? When is that coming up?
June. I can't remember which weekend. I think it's the second weekend of June, but I could be mistaken. What's up, Jerry Chick? Cosmic Rooster. How's it going? Like reading the name Jerry Chick makes me think geriatric. I don't know if that's an intentional play on words, but
right.
Eddie says, I'll ref that fight with lefty versus righty.
Yeah.
I'd say based on one prominent cosplayer I've seen, I'm going to go with left. That's my answer on that one. Just assuming
that is the weekend of the 20th.
Oh, okay. So it's a little bit farther in June, though, right? Yeah. Okay. And then I believe Rose City is either the second or third weekend in September. It's on somebody in my family's birthday. I can't remember if it's mine or my daughter's or my dad's. We're all our birthdays around the same time.
SummerCon, that's the same weekend as HeroesCon.
Right. Some people probably have to make some decisions. Mine's made for me by not having a plane ticket.
In a hotel and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Read Vampirola's right boob, Nick Barucci. Left boob, Rex Wang. Oh. Well, in that case, I think Nick's probably going to take that one. I feel like he's pretty scrappy. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. 100%, Chris. Yeah, you kind of mentioned that idea. when we met up, and I was all in favor of that. Doesn't matter the venue to me. Any place we're all going to meet up.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
that'd be fun.
Friday, and I believe, yeah, I think it's the 6th, 7th, and 8th. My birthday's the 6th, so I think it's one of those days. Pretty sure. I'm probably, if I go, I'd probably go either Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday. Probably not all 3 days, but we'll see what it comes down to. Yeah, comic YouTubers. You'll never see a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. Hey, before I get into the topic, I do want to talk about, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we're streaming on a couple different channels. Myself, Bronze Age Nerd, you can find me on YouTube. You can find Big B McFly, the comic guy, on YouTube as well. But you can also watch us over on one of the other channel we're streaming on right now, which is called The EXP. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, basically Twitch, anywhere you can really watch streaming content. Tomorrow night, they have some amazing shows coming up. The first one is Comic Industry Insiders at 2 Eastern, at 1 Central. And so I really recommend checking that show out over on the EXP tomorrow, 2 Eastern, 1 Central, where they talk about, well, comic industry inside knowledge kind of stuff, which is pretty fun, especially right now, because there's a lot of stuff going on in that world. But we're not going to talk about that. We are going to talk about who could kick the snot out of each other in the superhero world. So I'm going to just kind of save some people some time here by reading kind of the list that we came up with and the few we threw on at the end. So Shang-Chi, Iron Fist, Wolverine, Batman, Taskmaster, Deathstroke, Captain America, Black Panther, Elektra, Karate Kid, Bronze Tiger, Richard Dragon, Lady Shiva, Cassandra Cain, you may know her as Batgirl, Wonder Woman. We weren't probably going to take that one off, but it was just one I threw out there. X-23, Deadpool, Daredevil, let's see, Black Widow, Snake Eyes, and Catwoman were names that we all threw around. We don't have this is kind of just, this is, remember when you would go eat lunch and talk with your 1 or 2 friends you had that read comic books back in the day, or you would hang out, at a baseball field, no one's playing baseball, but you were all sitting around talking about comics, trying to hide from the sun and the shade during summer break or something like that. And you were talking about, man, who would win, so-and-so or so-and-so. That's kind of what this is. It's not like we don't have a bracket. We're not officially trying to, definitively figure this out, but we are curious from the Best Coast Comics perspective, who we think are some of the best fighters. We're not going to go, pound for pound on, well, in this issue, so-and-so beat so-and-so, so that means that they're obviously the winner of the entire thing. Because plot armor, any writer can write any character to be any kind of fighter they want, but we definitely are looking for consistency over time, like who's represented as having trained a lot, who's shown that they can use that training, who deserves it, that kind of thing.
It's kind of difficult because we're trying to rule out use of powers to benefit. So we were like, well, you can't have Superman and the Flash because he's got a super speed. He's going to be able to, all that stuff. So we're like, but still, like Shrips just said, well, Deathstroke has the healing factor and speed. So it's like,
And I mean, for sure, there are characters on this list that have powers. And I wish I could just distill it down to, okay, pretend that all their powers are gone and they're just in an arena where they're fighting off 1v1 in a box, a octagon, whatever you want to call it, without their powers. The only problem with that is it fair? Like if you throw in somebody like Taskmaster, is that even fair? Like, I mean, at that point, because Taskmaster might have been one of my favorites to take this, but then if you do that, I mean, is he stuck with one person's powers he can mimic, or does he remember the people he's mimicked in the past? Like that kind of thing. Like it gets into this weird kind of space, right?
Yeah.
So we're just gonna kind of have fun with it, folks.
I like Mr. Science Snake, Conan. That's hey.
Yeah. Yeah, Conan. That's a really good one that we missed. For me, I guess part of it is there's so many names on here that are fighters I love. You'd mentioned Black Widow, and Daredevil, who I think is up there for a lot of people. But then I'm like, if you really think about it, in this kind of a fight, does Daredevil really defeat Iron Fist or Shang-Chi? Like, really? Maybe. I mean, yeah, again, depending on the writer. But I feel like, you kind of end up with most of the universes of characters, you kind of end up with a few fighters at the very top who are most likely going to come out on top, right? We talked about earlier, and this kind of gets into an interesting point when you come to like the DC side of things, that Lady Shiva is just kind of almost canonically considered to be the best fighter, like in DC, except for Karate Kid, who is from the 31st century or whatever.
Just a normal person, but he's mastered every form of martial arts.
But he's from like the future,
the
Legion's future time, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't make him count. I'm just like trying to, kind of clarify that. I guess he's probably not running around encountering too many of the characters.
I kind of put Lady Shiva, Karate Kid 1 too on my list. I think probably Black Canary is way up there, tropes.
Yeah, I think Black Canary should be way up there too. But again, like at the end of the day, is she going to realistically? Because we have Batman on the list, and I think Batman's a really popular choice to probably like hang. But Batman's also like, I believe, and except for all I could find is one time where Lady Shiva was being mind controlled, that he like knocked her out with one punch, but it was almost like I don't think she was expecting it, and she was being mind controlled. So technically he's never defeated Lady Shiva. So, you can't really put Batman on that list, I guess. Even though he'd defeat a lot of these people probably, depending on the fight, but
yeah, I mean, and then side note, Cassandra Cain is the daughter of Lady Shiva. So
right. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
Trained by
but I mean, mom, right? You get into that with a lot of the characters on this list were trained by the League of Assassins. A lot of characters on this list were, trained by similar like masters in Marvel, that kind of stuff too. So you kind of end up with a lot of that carryover. It makes sense. There's usually a lineage. Karate Kid can kick his opponent back to yesterday. Yeah, Elektra we mentioned Elektra.
Yeah.
And see, like that's where I get, we're probably, this is like you kind of start to get into that whole who would win, Goku or Superman debate kind of stratospheres when you start talking about characters like Battle Beast, Invincible, Omni-Man, Superman, Sentry, whoever you want to throw in there, right? I think that there's a really strong history of people debating and having that talk. I think we're mostly going to avoid that, although we definitely could talk about it a different time, and just kind of take it down to the street level, non-powered ish, which is why like Wonder Woman was on my list for like a hot second, but I basically immediately kicked her off in my mind, because I'm like, well, her power levels have kind of been shown to be different at different times. Like sometimes she's closer to like, a deity, like half goddess kind of character. And then other times she's just Amazonians are just good fighters and more powerful than mortals. But then again, is she immortal? So then you have to kind of get to that conversation. Right. And then like you have Captain America or any super soldier recipient, super soldier serum recipient. Does Captain America count? Like, can you legit throw him in? Because his power, I mean, it's definitely, you could go by like the 80s trading card text where he's peak human, they kind of keep saying that. But then I'd say in modern comics, he's shown to have relatively, different feats of strength, speed, etc. Like in the MCU, like he's clearly running faster than a peak human can run. He's clearly stronger than a peak human can be. And I think the comics have reflected that too, to a certain extent. So it gets dicey. Well, what's your opinion on that one?
A Cap? Well, I mean,
like with Cap or like Taskmaster or Deathstroke, they have minor, or Wolverine. I guess we can throw in there. They have some powers.
I feel like Wolverine doesn't necessarily optimize his fighting because he knows he can heal from things. So I mean, he's always like, I don't care. I'll take the blade, or I'll take the whatever because I know I can heal from it. I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's a difficult question. Like the rules, it's difficult. We got to really define the rules parameters, I guess. But,
well, and that's, at the same time, I don't want to get too in the weeds of the rules because every time you're going to find exceptions, I feel like. But I think we need to kind of distill it down, just that general kind of assume they're mostly depowered.
Right.
If they had some powers. I can't think of a character who is at that extremely high ability level that would still be amazingly powerful in like an octagon type situation if they lost their powers. Like, I think I've heard some people say, and Jay, I know you're a huge Superman fan. I've heard some people say that since he has super intelligence, Superman actually really does know how to fight really well, but he just doesn't have to do it in the way we think of humans as fighting. I've seen people make that argument. I'm not sure if that's legit or not, but would he be like an Olympic level fighter?
Unless it's Smallville, yeah. Every time he got depowered in Smallville, he got his butt kicked.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, for sure.
Very glad that at least in Superman and Lois, when he didn't have powers, at least he could fight. You would think a farm boy would know how to carry his own, but every time in Smallville, he always got whooped.
Yeah, definitely in Smallville. I agree with that. But I feel like I've heard people make that argument about his super intelligence, that there's things that he does know that if he was depowered, he could still be similar to a Batman character who, Batman has all that knowledge. Obviously, he doesn't have powers, but he has the knowledge of how to do all that stuff.
Bleeker saying Superman never had any fight training. I think, I thought there was a great storyline in Marvel where, was it Iron Man, where Tony Stark, he got his butt kicked because he didn't have his armor, and then at one point Cap's like, all right, I'm going to teach you how to fight.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Superman has 1,000 years combat experience being trained by Wonder Woman while being in limbo. Also, he knows Torquism Rao, which is Kryptonian martial arts.
Okay. Chuck Norris. There we go. Chuck Norris takes. Yeah,
Chuck Norris is clearly the answer. All right, guys, we can pack it up. Let's get out of here. Chuck Norris.
No, I think I had Taskmaster at the top of my Marvel list, and Shang-Chi, and then Cap. So
yeah, Shang-Chi was really high on my Marvel list. Just to kind of put our cards on the table. And I mean, it doesn't, it obviously, it's not like we're not assuming that all the Marvel characters fought and then one of them kind of remained. But what we do know is we see Marvel characters fight all the time, and we see which characters tend to come out on top, that kind of thing. On the DC front, a character I'm barely familiar with, but is always mentioned anytime this comes up, is Lady Shiva. And I obviously have some familiarity because we talked about her earlier, that kind of stuff, but no, I'm not a DC person. And I kind of have to take everybody's word for it that she's, kind of the strongest of the League of Assassins school of characters and fighters. Right. Was there one other one that you were saying from DC that you thought was up there?
Karate Kid.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Karate Kid. That's right.
And I saw a lot of debate on people saying Batman is one of the greatest martial artists in DC, but
yeah.
And then you've got everybody who's trained by, so you've got all the League of Assassins guys, and you've got everybody who's trained by Batman. So, so Nightwing and everyone else.
Rook. Yes, we did mention Cassandra Cain, and we did mention that it's to be fair, Bigby mentioned that it's Lady Shiva's daughter.
She can be Lady Shiva, he says. Okay.
Ninjak. I didn't even think about that one. That's a good one.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Batman. I feel like this is kind of where I'm at with Swagglehouse's point here, and it's what I'm trying to do my best to weed out is the plot armor. The writer's going to figure out how they're going to win. If you go to like subreddits where they discuss this stuff ad nauseum, you'll always see somebody say like Batman with prep time, Batman without prep. Like if Batman knows who he's fighting and he has, hours at least to prepare for the fight, he's gonna find some weakness or plant some trick to, there's that to be said for Batman. But when you're talking about stripping away that situation down to like his actual fighting ability, I do feel like he's probably, the best I can explain it is he's so good at so many things, he can't possibly be the best at just fighting because it's not what he devotes all of his time to.
Right.
He's also the world's greatest detective. He's also essentially a scientist, essentially, a doctor, essentially a few of those things.
I didn't realize Rook saying Cassandra didn't know how to speak. She originally only understood fighting. That almost sounds like Echo.
Yeah, when she gets introduced in No Man's Land, that's kind of a thing they bring up quite a bit. Dominic Toretto with either a car or a sledgehammer, especially if family's on the line.
That's right. Oh, Brooklyn says Batman admits that Bronze Tiger is better than him. So Bronze Tiger was the, and my DC, fans out there, of course, I love me some DC, but I'm not as well versed in the knowledge. Bronze Tiger was one I got added to the list because I remember always seeing Bronze Tiger's name get mentioned when it comes to this stuff, like Bronze Tiger or Batman. I remember seeing like that a lot. So, folks out there that really want to stand for your favorites out there, like Cassandra Cain, makes sense that she'd be way up there. I have Wildcat on my list. Awesome sauce.
There you go.
Then we have like out of those universes, we have Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. We had Conan. We had those type of characters. So
yeah, Michael J. White.
I meant to put White. My bad. I just realized what I put.
Michael J. White.
I mean,
okay.
Hopefully, you never meet him at a con, Jay. I'm sure this moment will live in infamy.
This will come up. It's gonna haunt you forever.
Have you ever seen that video of Michael J. White doing the thing where he's like training for a movie or something like that? And he's trying to like get a guy to punch him. He's trying to say like, I can punch you and hit you like no matter how fast you are. And this guy is super fast apparently, and he like tries to throw super fast punch, and then he just goes really slow, and like the guy doesn't expect it, so he connects with him. I don't know. I feel like that's a clip I saw somewhere on the internet a long time ago. Kimbo Slice. Yeah, Snake Eyes. So Snake Eyes is an interesting one. I think if you bring up Snake Eyes, you got to bring up Storm Shadow. And I feel maybe I'm just like making a huge assumption here. I don't know if everybody agrees with me. I feel like between Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, most likely Snake Eyes is going to take the win, even though the deal is they're so evenly matched, but it's freaking Snake Eyes, right? Like I feel like if it really came down to it, he'd probably get the win on that one. But I don't know. Maybe everybody disagrees with me. We'll find out.
Yeah. Which one's willing to fight more dirty?
It's important. Straight jab, you can't see it coming. There you go. But yeah, Snake Eyes, I feel really hard pressed to put him up against like Shang-Chi.
Oh yeah.
I just
saying in tough. Other universes. I was just saying they're good fighters in other universes. So.
Yeah. True, but Gamora also has abilities that would have to be kind of leveled, right? Like she's got super strength. It's not like she doesn't like have, I don't think she can like lift 100 tons or something, but she's strong.
Oh, Shredder. There we go. That's a good one.
Oh shit, that's a good one.
Turtles.
Yeah, I thought about the turtles, but that's one of those ones where it's kind of hard to like power level them against other fighters
Right.
from other universes. It's like I don't know. Are they just extremely good martial artists in their world, or would they be even better in or just as good in another world? I feel like those shells are going to slow them down a little bit at some point.
Mhm.
They say slow and steady wins the race. It's not like they're fighting a hare every time. One Punch Man. And that's exactly. That's the kind of stuff that I was hoping to do, like maybe a different thing on that kind of question. Well, was Morpheus really? I know there were like a couple Matrix comics. I don't think there was a ton of them. But is he really a comic book character, or is he just a character that got adapted? Leo and Raph. I go Leo on that one, but a lot of people probably go Raph. I just think you got the reach with those swords. I feel like that's an advantage.
Lots of great info on all your guys' comments.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. It was tied in the crossover, huh? But then again, Batman's never beaten Lady Shiva, so I think you factor in popularity. That's the tough part. As far as your last part there, Chris, when it speaks to consistency, I think that's where it kind of comes in. Because if you have somebody like, who's one of the more story. I mean, I guess you can even say Captain America because he's got just a reputation of doing it. But that's for me, it's like Shang-Chi. That's pretty much all he does. He's been doing it for a long time. He's always really good at it.
Right.
So your short list, you kind of came up with Lady Shiva and Karate Kid and Shang-Chi. Is that about right, Big B?
Yeah, then Taskmaster and Cap over on the Marvel side, and Shang-Chi.
Okay. That's pretty similar to how I feel on a lot of it. Trying to think if there's anybody else that we had mentioned here.
Oh, Casey Jones, there's a good one.
Yeah, and then you get into the whole. There's other tropes in this kind of arena. Like, is it a fight to the death? Are they bloodlusted, meaning that they would like fight beyond their normal reservations that they might have? Like, Batman normally wouldn't kill, but is he like just for some reason willing to fight to the death for this particular fight? I think you kind of keep it to their typical limits. And for weaponry, I'm gonna say that if I'm the Beyonder of this scenario, or in Big B and I are the Game Master and Beyonder, whoever is which.
It's this contest of champions.
if they have, I think they'd have to have kind of similar weapons, right? Like, if Taskmaster gets a sword or a shield, then Leonardo could get a katana too, or whatever, right? Like that kind of thing. Right. I said katana. He probably doesn't even actually have a katana. I'm probably wrong on what kind of sword that is.
Steve mentioning Judge Dredd. There you go.
Mega City's own version of Bruce Lee. Stanley. There you go. Yeah, and I think that's kind of what we were kind of trying to do is, again, because you can kind of see like the trend of like who fights who the most and who usually ends up on top. For me, on the DC side, again, I'm weak on the DC knowledge when it comes to like a lot of the history with these characters. I can really see the argument for Karate Kid, and I can see the argument for Lady Shiva.
Getting a lot of love for Cassandra Cain in the comments.
There is a lot of love for Cassandra Cain too. Figure Drawn comes in with Cassandra Cain as well. It's interesting though, because I don't get me wrong, like I've read the No Man's Land and stuff where she was introduced, but I don't really remember her ever being like dominant, like to that degree. So where's she kind of doing most of that in the comics? Like during what storylines, and like who did she like? Did she just whip Deathstroke's ass and kick Bronze Tiger's butt?
Rick was saying in the Batgirl run. So
okay, so Rook says Batgirl Volume 1 is about her surpassing Lady Shiva.
Cool.
The Birds of Prey movie. Okay, fair enough. So Tropes goes with Cat, Batman, Conan, Leonardo. Yeah, there you go.
Another character that didn't really get mentioned, I don't think, is Black Panther.
I think he's on my list. I quickly went over him, but but that's, you know, that to me kind of comes into the Captain America debate, which I'm still having in my own head of like, do you move Captain America forward or not?
Yeah,
because I mean, yeah, he's got the herb and he's got the herb.
I see.
Oh boy. Okay, so
you think that would like mellow him out? He wouldn't want to fight, right?
Well, Steve, the funny thing is I actually don't think Wolvie actually really makes it forward in this, because that's the kind of thing where it's like, you know, if we kind of play around with like taking away the abilities, I do think he's more of a skilled fighter. From the comics I've read, he's trained a lot. Like, you know, he knows. There's an episode. There's a comic where he's like training. I can't remember. Somebody gets depowered. Maybe it's Shadowcat, and he's like training her in like Krav Maga or something like that, where he's like, only use your elbows and your knees, and he's trying to like show her how to fight, basically, with like, you know, your hands and feet have been disabled or something like that, I think is kind of the gist of it. And like he just knows right off the top of his head how to fight like that. So I think he knows those fighting styles, but he's used to, even if they're bone claws, he's used to that taking him over the top.
Right.
And his healing factor is so freaking OP. And of course he's had both those things taken away from him, and sometimes at the same time. But I feel like he's just, his powers are, and Deadpool's in there, X-23. I feel like they're all kind of in that same camp. And I wanted to mention, I think it was Derek. Yeah, Derek keeps saying Battle Beast, and again, Battle Beast, I think he's just too strong to be in this. He'd be like in a different weight class of like this competition than we're talking about. We're trying to weed those people out.
He does love his hand-to-hand combat, though. That's for sure.
No worries, Richard. You should just to catch you up real fast. Sydney Sweeney won the greatest fighter of all time competition.
That's right.
Okay, bud.
As she should.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're getting all the names in, and I think for DC, I think we've kind of narrowed it down to Cassandra Cain, Karate Kid, and Lady Shiva. So at this point, yeah, you got it all. You got all you needed to know.
Badger, I think that's another character.
So let's just, since we have it, that one we've talked about quite a bit, we have it down to DC for just the DC characters. Not that this is necessarily going to be the end all be all, but I am curious in chat. So those of you in chat right now, which one do you kind of vote for? Do you vote for Lady Shiva? Do you vote for Cassandra Cain? Or do you vote for Karate Kid for the DC character that probably takes it home? And then for the Marvel list, which I think this really kind of, you know, narrows it down. So we had what on the Marvel, we had Shang-Chi. Now, do we include? We needed to figure out the Taskmaster.
We had Taskmaster. He was top of my list, actually. But
without his ability, I mean, what do you give his ability? Like, is he kind of in that? Like, if we had like a different tier list or a different weight class or whatever,
if he didn't have his ability, he'd be out. He wouldn't be in that top. But
I think that
his ability
kind
to
of
be able to like mimic any fighting style that he sees. I mean,
I think our next one is enhanced characters, and you're talking like Wolverine, you're talking Taskmaster, you're talking Captain America, you know, anybody who had the super soldier serum, anybody who has like a, you know, mystical amulet. Iron Fist would probably be in that list because he can channel his chi.
Right.
I'm not even positive. Is Iron Fist? He's the only one that can do that, right? Because of his ability to connect with was it the dragon or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not
Yeah,
something where he's mastered the skill and technically anybody could do it. So I guess
I don't know, there's a new Iron Fist, so I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Oh, yeah, an underhanded Domino takes it all by a fluke. Ooh, I like that.
Because of luck, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Comic Ozzy coming in with the Harley Quinn. We didn't even mention her.
You know, she's on the list of like, if you were gonna do
non-powered
fighting dirty
people,
like, you know, who would fight dirty in you know, like, I guess I could see Catwoman hanging in that category. I could see Deadpool, Condiment King, obviously. We'll throw comic tropes in there. We'll give him Paste Pot Pete. All those characters that could fight dirty. NFL Super Pro. Okay, so we're seeing Cat. Wait, what? Did I miss something?
Yeah, Catwoman.
Cat. I'm trying to figure it out, Derek. Yes, that's what it is. Okay, so it's just him or whoever replaces him. Okay. Who wins a fight between Beavis and Butthead and Ren and Stimpy tag team style? Ooh, boy, that's a palate cleanser.
Bullseye, I forgot about him too.
Yeah, Bullseye would probably have to throw in that same, like, if we do the next tier up, we're trying to strip out the abilities as much as possible. Is his ability still a mystery, like how he has that super accuracy? Because at one point I feel like they were going to play around him being a mutant, and then they eventually pulled that out and said he's not a mutant.
Yeah, I don't know.
He just kind of
never really.
He's a little like the Joker in a way, because they feel like they keep a lot of the real shit is kind of still sort of a mystery, unless they've revealed it recently, and I just haven't read those storylines. So I guess I'm down to, with Marvel, I'm down to Shang-Chi. If we took out Iron Fist, we take out Captain America, we take out Black Panther, Elektra,
Black Widow.
Yes. Yeah. He'd be in there too, right? We forget anybody else from Marvel. I've seen a couple of people mention Nick Fury. He's good, but is he that good? I never thought of him. I guess I'd have to think more about like his Howling Commandos kind of days, right? Oh yeah, Eddie's bringing up Daredevil again.
Yeah, but if he doesn't have any powers.
But even without his extrasensory powers, he still knows how to fight. Like,
yeah, but he wouldn't even be able to tell there's a punch coming. He has no radar sense.
But I thought there was something where he trained with like stick or something like that. Like he was able to negate his abilities or something to like train him.
Stilt man.
Stilt man. You think the women are the better fighters? I think you just want to see the women fight, Richard. That's what I think.
That's the psychological warfare, at least.
I didn't see a lot of consensus from the chat. We're gonna have to figure this out. So I'm gonna have to, when it comes to the DC characters, I mean, I saw a vote for Cassandra Cain, I saw a vote for Lady Shiva, I saw a vote for Karate Kid. So basically split in the middle.
Trope said Batman was his guy. So,
well, no, we vote for Batman, but I mean, I think we kind of already ruled Batman out amongst our council here. Like he's kind of the jack of all trades, but the master of none. Which is I forgot. That's actually only half that phrase, but I forgot what the other half is. Ooh, Punisher. Yeah, you mentioned that. Okay, a Punisher for Marvel might be in there too, but I don't know. I feel like he's not going to come over take off Shang-Chi in that fight. Oh, you can't see Steve? You guys maybe you're on different channels. Maybe that's it.
Stick revealed anyone can have the senses DD has with training. Okay.
There we go. Chat, reveal your Marvel choices from the people we talked about. Remember, we're kind of taking out characters with abilities. We kind of decided that's probably the way to do this, I think.
You might have to do a poll online, which you might have to do.
I mean, we'll probably formalize this afterwards and give everybody there it is. Thank you. Jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. Thank you very much for filling in the blank there. I know that's one of those phrases that people often misquote. It's kind of taken on a new meaning because of that.
Tropes I think Cap got eliminated because he has the super soldier serum tropes.
Yeah, I think we have to kind of pull out. We have to kind of pull out all the superpowered characters. It just makes it weird because, like, I don't see a universe that Taskmaster isn't better than pretty much everybody on the Marvel list we have at this point. Except, Wolverine would still probably kick his ass with his healing factor, but then again, that's because of powers.
Right.
Yeah, weapons it's going to be like if two characters have weapons, they get to equally have
the
similar arms.
Right.
Yeah, whether that's exactly the same or their weapon of choice that's, if different types of swords or maybe different types of brass knuckles or whatever.
And he says Thanos. Well, I mean, Thanos would just being by himself. I think he's in a different weight class, like we said.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you do bring up a good point that he's often not portrayed as being more than just the Olympic level peak human kind of fighter in comics. Sometimes he kind of is, but I feel like you're right. It's more often than not he's sort of peak human. Okay, so chat, drop your votes in for Marvel characters you think should win, while Big B and I kind of finalize the DC side of things. So we had a lot of even voting there, mostly for Shiva, mostly for Cassandra Cain, and mostly for Karate Kid.
Yeah,
I'm going to defer to you on this one. Who you think is going to win between those three?
I mean, I'm not an expert on DC, but I mean, there did seem to be a lot of love for Cassandra Cain.
If the whole thing is everyone says Lady Shiva is the best fighter, and she has this whole storyline that's devoted to her beating Lady Shiva, that's a pretty good argument.
Moon Knight, yeah, that Moon Knight should have been on the list. I read an interesting quote about somebody who's like, Moon Knight doesn't care. He'll take the almost lethal hit to make sure he can hit you back.
Yeah. Yeah, Moon Knight was one that I definitely had thought of, but I was like, man, is it just like I put a lot of names on here for people that I don't think ultimately really stand a chance when it comes down to it. Like, they definitely would be in the competition, but are they going to come out on top? And Moon Knight was one of those names. And frankly, a lot of ones I put on here, I feel that way about. Moon haunts you. While you guys are kind of throwing in your favorite Marvel characters, I do want to take a second to mention that there's another show coming up on the EXP, which, by the way, we're also streaming on the EXP network over there. Link in the description below. You can watch Minute to Skim It, where they talk about new comic books coming out for New Comic Book Day, taking a quick look at each of those comics or a lot of those comics that are coming out, and giving you a quick review of whether or not those stories are catching their attention or whether or not they're wanting to keep them reading those stories. You can catch that tomorrow at 7 Eastern, 6 Central over on the EXP. Definitely go give a sub and hit the notification bell so you get reminded when that show comes on. Oh, snap. Joe Pesci got dropped in chat. Wait, does Joe Pesci get a pen? And do we think he's funny? Those both matter.
Looks like we're getting a pretty overwhelming Shang-Chi vote.
So we might be going Cassandra Cain, huh?
I think so from
For DC.
From what we were seeing in the chat earlier. I mean, it's an interesting debate. It's an interesting debate.
It is. Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes.
I know the name. I know. Yeah, it's like somebody bringing up like John Cena, right? Yeah, for Marvel, our instinct I think was Shang-Chi pretty early on, and I'm seeing a lot of support for that.
No, Rook says Cassandra is Taskmaster without needing the powers. So,
right, and that comes down to the whole language thing.
Right,
I think
right.
is kind of how that translates. Haha.
Popeye. There we go.
Wait, does he get spinach or not? Like, come on. Joe Pesci couldn't beat Macaulay Culkin. Oh, dude, and he had help too. Courtney coming in. Hey, what's up, Courtney? By the way, I didn't see a comment from you earlier. Bronze Tiger put the hands on Batman several times. Deathstroke destroyed Batman too. Yeah, but we already kind of said Batman isn't even king of the castle over in DC when it comes to some of these other fighters. But great points. I don't disagree with you on both of those. Yeah, I think actually Batman and Deathstroke is probably one of my favorite matchups from like a fighting perspective, just based on they both have a little extra going on there in different ways.
Some Luke Cage action.
The other guy can have spinach too.
Oh, okay. The other guy can have spinach. Then.
Oh my gosh. Does Echo hang really? I mean, and maybe she does. That's not me saying she doesn't. I just I don't know if she hangs.
I had her on the list, but I mean, yeah. I think Courtney, we did have Karate Kid on the list, definitely.
Yeah, and some of it I think we're probably willing to admit sounds like for both of us, especially for me, my ignorance on some of the finer points of DC minor character fighters. I say minor because they're not Batman, they're not Superman, they're not Justice League members. Karate Kid I know is part of the Legionnaires, but I don't know much about Karate Kid. Yeah, I can't speak to whether or not one would take it down to the other. I feel like the one I regularly see, because I did do the research of like going through every list I could find of like when this topic has come up, and pretty much every editorial or forum or wherever, Lady Shiva is constantly mentioned as being like just sort of like, oh well, she's the best. And if Cassandra Cain can beat Lady Shiva, then she'd be the best. That's just the logic I'm using there. Usagi. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then like Neo in the Matrix, it comes down to the same Morpheus problem. I don't know if that's technically. I mean, like, yeah, technically there was a comic book, but
Daniel LaRusso. There you go. Karate Kid. Sweep the leg.
Oh, he wouldn't sweep the leg. Come on, that's a what's the name of the Cobra Kai?
Gru the Wanderer. There we go.
You talking about Johnny Lawrence?
Yes, Johnny Lawrence is the sweep the leg, right?
Right. That's right.
I need to finish that show, by the way. I haven't finished all the. It's over now, I guess, right? So, and there's a new movie coming out. That surprised me, and it surprises me even more that the movie doesn't seem to have a ton to do with the show, even though it's about the same story, I guess, but they don't seem to have much to do with the Cobra Kai events, from what I can tell. Dracula, stick with Moon Knight. Okay. I was trying to kind of Mantis. Really? Okay, you're gonna throw Mantis in there. All right.
I saw Mantis on a few lists when we were doing the research. Yeah, for martial arts.
Steve's beating the Trico War Drum, which I appreciate. It's probably going to come down to my own ignorance there on some of these characters.
I think a lot of it too is like, yeah, like how much are we getting exposed to the characters? How much are they being promoted as like this great fighter in their universes, right? So
yeah. Lobo. Yeah, definitely. You know, I think that we've kind of stumbled on that we're going to have to do more entries in this series with different tiers of abilities. So I think I'm going to say, I'm going to put this, I'm not saying this is the final answer. I'm just going to write this down in our imaginary piece of paper we have in front of us.
Our imaginary whiteboard.
Yeah. Shang-Chi for Marvel, Cassandra Cain for DC. Again, it's not that it has to be by publisher, but it's just, I mean, it's ultimately going to probably come down to that. And then, do you have any problems with either of those?
No, I don't. No, those are good.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, chat, you're coming up with some fire arguments. Some of you will probably, I guess that's the one bridge we didn't cross. Shang-Chi versus Captain America. If we assume Captain America is really just the best he could be, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. So I've got almost a tie between those two, probably.
I feel like it kind of comes down to that, and this is maybe me simplifying things too much. Captain America is also, and this is kind of actually what spawned this, by the way, is we had a video where I think it's actually Chris that brought this up, like who was the best leader in comics. And we kind of came, you know, Captain America kept coming up. Of course he should. He's in that conversation for sure. And I think it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's almost like with Batman, where he has other abilities, like other skills, like being one of the best leaders, being such a symbol that you kind of almost assume like he can't be the best because it's not all he focuses on. He has to focus on other stuff too. Maybe that's reductionist of me to say that, but I feel like that's just part of it. Whereas like Shang-Chi, like that's pretty much his deal. Like he's a fighter. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've read a lot of stories where Shang-Chi is training other people who are considered to be really good fighters too. So
yep. And so we're going with Wolverine, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. That was to get to the point of the conversation. Wolverine.
Yeah. And yeah, awesome sauce, just like some other people have told you. You know, I might ask you from time to time, hey, did you mean this, or what does this thing mean on the voice to chat? Do not sweat it, brother. Anytime you do voice to chat, we're always going to assume that it's probably not, you know, if something doesn't make sense, we're blaming the voice to chat, not you.
Turlock the dinosaur hunter. There you go.
Absolutely.
I saw Swag said Hawkeye if he can get distance, since we said, you know, we could have weapons.
Oh, that's a good point. Oh, and then, man, part of me wants to put Storm Shadow back in the competition if we get to do archery.
Right? Yeah.
No, that's an interesting one.
Comics, Shang-Chi trained G.I. Joe member Quick Kick.
Yeah. There you go. God, I love G.I. Joe. Yeah, I'm thinking that's a pretty safe like pick for each. I'm not
we've at least identified some of the top contenders. We can maybe put this to a poll, but
yeah. And like folks, keep in mind, again, this is fun, right? At least it is for me. I hope it is for everybody. I hope you aren't screaming.
You're like, that's it. I'm never watching again.
But it's literally an unsolvable problem, because when you really come down to, you know, oh, Superman is gonna fight the Hulk, or whatever it is, Goku and Superman, or Batman and Storm Shadow, or you know, any of those kinds of real matchups. We all know it literally depends on who's writing the story, what the point of the story is. That's funny. We are canceled. Exactly. It's literally, we all know that's who it is. So this is all just kind of in fun, but also trying to apply like some logic to it, and really the trick here. I'll tell you all the trick here. We all wanted to hear your opinions of who you thought would be the best fighter. That's really what it came down to.
Yeah, it's actually the best part of this is getting everybody involved and listening to their opinions.
Yeah. So I think Snake Eyes, even I'm not gonna make the distinction that he's a Marvel character, considering that of course he technically was during a big part of that run, but at the same time, it's not anymore. And yeah, I think he's in there for like the indie.
I thought Conan was an interesting. I mean, Conan was an Avenger for a while, right? So I mean,
that's true. Yeah, and Conan's another character whose rights have bounced around. Conan's interesting, and I think a turtle. I would pick. Oh man, or would you pick Splinter? Is Splinter really? Turtles fans out there, people that know Turtles deeply. I wish we had Kyle out there because I know he's a huge Turtles fan. Is Splinter still probably more powerful than a turtle, or is it just that he used to be and he's older and he can train them? Or is he the Mr. Miyagi that would win the fight if the fight really happened or whatever, like
Ash Ketchum, he held 2,000-pound Pokemon.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
Good point. Roy Thomas. Guys, we were doing this all wrong. Just don't just Reacher and it's all good. Where's my Reacher comics at, Eddie? That's what I want to know.
Lord of Brooklyn says Shredder greater than Splinter.
Okay. I'm forced to believe, from my I was a fan of Turtles when I was in like kindergarten and first grade and really enjoyed it, but I don't have deep lore knowledge.
Casey Jones. The point is, there's so many great characters who are awesome fighters, and it's fun. Madonna, Taylor Swift.
Oh God. Oh, I thought it said Patrick Mahomes, Madonna. Yeah, totally. I don't know. I just read Patrick Mahomes. I thought that'd be even funnier.
Did you say Mahomes and Taylor Swift?
My brain just threw Mahomes in there because of the Chiefs connection.
Bottom of the list. Howard the Duck versus
a few people have mentioned this. Is Casey Jones really a better fighter than any of the Turtles or something? Like that surprises me, but a few people have mentioned Casey Jones.
I don't think he's better than the Turtles, but he can hold his own with them. So
now the Howard the Duck people are coming out. Jeez.
Because Mr. Science Sake said now.
Yeah, bottom of the list. There we go.
Said Howard the Duck versus Dupe.
No, not at all. If people are trying to get real serious there, I love it.
Master of Quack Fu.
Roy Thomas co-created hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
Hillary Clinton. I have a John McCain comic around here somewhere. Is he the best fighter? I have like the John McCain and Barack Obama comics that I got in my collection I picked up.
Well, Barack Obama, definitely martial arts extraordinaire.
The Goon.
Splinter's
modeled after Stick. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. No does have a turtle in his avatar image, so I feel like we have to give him like a half-point credit for being knowledgeable about this.
Yeah, I did see Stick listed as in the Marvel side as one of the top fighters too.
And that's kind of what I was talking about, like the whole lineage thing of like because what Stick trained Daredevil and Elektra, right?
Yeah.
So,
that's why you were asking about Ra's al Ghul, because you were like, like, well,
he trained theoretically the League of Assassins people. So, but then just like Splinter, just because the trainer is really talented doesn't mean the student doesn't overtake the trainer at some point, of course. I feel like there's a Fight Club joke in here. Which U.S. president was the best hand-to-hand fighter? Lincoln did some wrestling, sure, but Washington was a war general.
But Abraham Lincoln was a vampire fighter.
And, you know, what's the line from Fight Club? Skinny guys fight till they're pulp. John Wick, I'm not fighting him. Yeah, but John Wick. I mean, unless the other person gets it. John Wick versus Punisher, by the way, is a comic that I, in my head, just figured out needs to happen. Please take my money and make it happen.
Abe is immortal. He's invincible. That's true.
John Wick versus Joe Pesci. They both get a pen or a pencil, their choice. Another Rachel Gould comment there. This is next week's topic. Who's the best troll on this channel? No, Jay, the best troll on this channel is the one that you didn't realize was there all along, that put forth a topic like who's the best fighter in all of comics. The greatest troll of all time. Chuck Norris. Blade should have been in the running. Ooh.
No, but he's a vamp.
He's got vampire powers.
Right? He's got powers.
Got them powers.
Got them powers.
Washington chopped down a cherry tree with his bare hands.
I saw the trailer for that new John Wick spinoff. That looked pretty good. The ballerina.
Yeah. It's definitely on my list of ones I need to watch. Bridgeport. Hey, what's up, Bridgeport? I don't think I've seen a comment from you before, so really appreciate you coming in and leaving a comment. If you're talking about the best fighters, I look at experience rather than powers. It's what I think the likes of Captain America, Dracula, for example, for their battle experience. And I definitely think that's a factor. And with both those characters, I think they'd come up when we talk about powered characters. Ooh, ropes coming up. Yeah, I didn't originally have those powers.
Mayor McCheese versus the Burger King.
Oh man, the Hamburglar, definitely the Hamburglar. Oh wait, no, who's the purple guy?
Grimace.
Somebody's on Grimace.
Well, he's secretly Thanos, so
because they're purple. Is that all? All right. So how do we feel, Big B especially? How do we feel about Shang-Chi, Cassandra Cain, Snake Eyes, a turtle of anybody's choosing? I think my vote was for Leo, but that doesn't mean anything. Is there another indie character that got brought up that really hangs for all-time greats? I'm
down with those. Those are good.
I feel like somebody brought up one indie character that I hadn't thought of that was like pretty. Oh, and Conan.
Gru the Wanderer. Badger.
Gru. There has to be somebody else from like, Ninjak was one that got brought up.
Grendel.
Oh, gosh, didn't even think about that one. That's a good one. Only because of Ronan. Why not? Honestly, I don't have a good reason for you other than playing Smash 'em Up TMNT games. I always prefer Leo. That's literally the only reason that I'm voting for Leo. Like I said, I don't have a dog in the. I don't have a turtle in the race.
Turtle in the fight. Turtle in the race. Yeah, don't want to give away too many spoilers on Last Ronin, unless it's been out for a while. But
yeah, I think it's safe. Luther Strode.
Oh, there you go. If you have to qualify Cap for the serum, don't you have to disqualify Turtles for the ooze?
Ooh. Well, it just mutated him, right? But I mean, like, I don't think they have like super strength or anything. Then again, I mean, for a turtle, I guess they kind of
They are a little more. I don't know. Gru carved through hordes. That is true. Gru has slain many.
I mean, Rick Grimes, like the what is it, like the Skybound X version, or the I guess Michonne with her katana, but she has to have her katana. So that's not very fair. Yeah, John Wick versus Jack Reacher versus James Bond versus Jason Bourne versus any other live action heroes. Yeah, there's a lot of those guys. Hitman. I don't know. Do I even think a turtle is capable of beating like a Shang-Chi? I have a hard time. Like, again, when it comes to turtles, and this is maybe me being dumb here. Not like I've never done that on this channel before. There's 4 of them, and like I feel like that's a huge part of it, right? Like the 4 of them together are really what make them dangerous. And I'm not, I'm not saying that, like, one of them is only a quarter as powerful or something like that necessarily, but I do think it's like additive, right? Like, Richard's like, no way do we include turtles in this. I didn't realize Richard was so strongly anti-turtle.
Some turtle hate.
Yeah, it'll either be full on power level or it'll be the kind of I don't know what we'll call it, but like the super powered but not cosmic threat, guys. Hey, gals. Definitely not just excluding the guys in that one, because there's lots of strong female characters that'll be in that fight.
Fighters, including powers.
Shredder fights all the turtles simultaneously. But even Shredder, does he eventually take out any of the other characters?
Well, in Last Ronin.
No, I mean that we're talking about. Like,
I didn't know that we were going for like one above all. I thought we were just kind of like naming the best in each.
Well, eventually one of them's got to come out on top, right? Like, we got to figure out who the best fighter in comics is.
Well, I mean, if we're saying like Cassandra Cain is Taskmaster without the powers, then probably
I'm leaning that way, which is kind of a surprise for me, but
right.
Adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters.
That's right. Clint all the way. Let's go, Clint.
Oh my God. You're trying, Derek, you're trying to take the title of best troll. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. I can respect that. Wilson Fisk. Oh, there's one we didn't think of, but I don't know. He doesn't. I feel like he doesn't hang with like the best of the best. Well, I know what you're saying on one level, but like strike for strike, like if she's agile enough to avoid strikes and yet fast enough to deliver strikes, I think it kind of can come out on top.
There is that agility thing.
Yeah. Conan, since I said it, the second is Shang-Chi. The Snake Eyes, we'd mentioned Snake Eyes a couple times. I have a hard time placing him against characters, but I don't see him beating Shang-Chi. Like that's the fight in my head where I'm like, if unless they both had weapons or whatever, you take away all of Snake Eyes' weapons, I don't see him beating Shang-Chi. Let's do an easy topic. One we can just kind of like settle forever, never talk about again. More Cody Rhodes.
That was kind of the discussion. Let's just do an easy topic, like best fighters. Okay, wait a minute.
Oh, comic. You see Snake win in that fight. Okay. I mean, unfortunately, today the answer is John Byrne. Like having recently been around Mr. Shooter, Byrne's probably taking that one. I'd want to see it be more of a fair fight, though.
Coke versus Pepsi, go.
Oh, that's easy. Pepsi. That's not a controversial opinion, is it?
I don't know. My diet sodas, I like my Diet Coke, but
well, we all know you like your Diet Mountain Dew.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I learned on Saturday.
Yeah, we were at the restaurant. I asked for that, which they said they were debating.
Yeah, I mean, you might have changed hearts and minds there.
Right.
So for me, I am declaring my winner for this as Cassandra Cain.
Okay.
This particular
overall over everybody, it's Cassandra Cain. Okay.
I mean, just to kind of like wrap it up as we're getting to like the end of the time we have for this part of the discussion. It's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. I can be down with that. I think we should do a poll. It'd be interesting.
Oh, we will.
Yeah.
Should we do it on Insta or should we do it on we can't do it on just one of the YouTube channels. That doesn't work.
Just do it. Why don't you just do it on Insta and then we'll collab on it.
We'll collab on it.
Yeah.
We'll list the top few choices we kept coming up with.
Rook says, I've convinced you.
Ooh.
Kato.
Damn, forgot about that one. I don't know. Like, Kato's basically Bruce Lee, right? Like, isn't that kind of the not so disguised thing there? Scooby-Doo. Yeah, I mean, if you get to like the cartoon characters, like, I mean, at a certain level, isn't the answer like Bugs Bunny? But then you got Toon Power, like, I don't know. Easy. YouTube all the way.
Instagram versus YouTube. Yeah. There we go.
Twinkies, but only if they're the size of the containment unit from Ghostbusters.
Grape Ape. There we go. That's it.
Wow. We can't post it until we decide which social media wins. Well, I mean, YouTube wins, but for being able to reach the most people, I think Instagram's better.
Yeah.
Devil dogs are badass. One of the greatest snack cakes of all time. Devil dogs. I don't know what those are.
What are the ones that have the yellow frosting on the top? Those were my favorite.
The Zingers?
Might have been it. Is it Zingers?
Twinkie wiener sandwich. A hot dog is tucked delicately into a Twinkie and judiciously sprayed with cheese. Derek, you're fired.
Like a gastrological nightmare.
I am all for some garbage food, but you are fired. I mean, the real winners are the viewers we talk to along the way, Eddie.
That's true. You forgot to mention what you're reading and what you're watching. I mean, you kind of said your book, but you didn't say what you're watching or anything.
Oh, well, and I didn't really hear what you were watching either. Should we? You want to quickly recap what you were watching before we talk about the news?
Watching a whole lot of Big Bang Theory and Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back the other night.
Leonard versus Howard. Who wins?
And then
Penny versus Bernadette.
I finished Reacher.
Oh, sorry.
So that was good.
I'm busy picturing Penny and Bernadette fighting. Sorry, you watched some Star Wars?
Yeah, I watched the other night. I watched Star Wars and Empire back to back. So.
Right on. Yes, please give us your quick top 5. I absolutely insist.
Absolutely. Yeah, Reacher finale was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. This season was definitely better than season 2. And again, I haven't watched. I think it's just the last episode. I think I'm up to the speed before that. But man, season 1 is still better than both of these seasons so far. I don't know if that's just the story that it's based on, the novel that it's based on, because I haven't read any of the Reacher books yet. Or if it was just like the chemistry of the cast that was brought around to tell that story with. I kind of feel like it was the writing for Reacher himself that was better. But this season's giving me hope. I'm going to keep watching it. At one point in season 2, I was like, man, I might just quit watching this show, which sucked. I really liked the first one.
I like season 2 is more of an ensemble cast kind of thing. You're trying to learn more about the history of the
unit and stuff. But the problem for me with season 2 is that it felt so generic. It felt just like it felt like not a procedural cop show, but like one of those, like, I'm probably gonna insult a lot of people. One of those, like, all it's about is about action TV shows that, I think like SWAT or there's a few others like Hawaii Five-0, the remake. They didn't really feel like it had the same intelligence that season 1 had in the scenarios that were, and how Reacher got out of them or navigated them. And there's more of that in season 3.
Gotcha.
That's my opinion anyway. Let's see. I finished Severance, which I know you're still working your way through.
Oh, right? No, I finished that too.
Oh, you finished that? Okay.
Yeah, I forgot that. Yep. That was really good. There's more coming, right? Or is that the end of it?
Season 3 is greenlit. It will probably be not as long of a wait as it was between season 1 and season 2, which was about 2.5 years, I believe. Which is kind of long. His work is done. That's awesome.
I may reach the topic. My job here is done.
I'm trying to think if there's any other good. I mean, the books. Most of what I did. I'm watching The Righteous Gemstones, trying to get another comedy in there. All right, have a good night, Chad.
Daredevil too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Daredevil. Yeah. So I did. Watch the 2 they dropped. Let's talk about that real quickly. So I really don't think this is a spoiler for Daredevil, and we're not going to go into specifics about the episode. I'm how I want to phrase this. There's an episode of Daredevil that is basically self-contained, for more or less.
So what the first episode from last week?
Yeah. So like kind of a, some people would call it a bottle episode. Some people would call it, like a just a one-off episode. I've seen people complain about that episode online. Again, shock. People are complaining about things on the internet. But I also have seen people defend it, and I'm kind of with the people that defend it, where it's like, that's a freaking comic book right there.
See, that was the one that I was talking about when I was telling you that I felt like because they started filming 2 different shows, right? They filmed a bunch and then they canceled, and then when I feel like that is recycled material from we filmed this, because it has a totally different feel. It has like a lighthearted feel where Daredevil's kind of jovially talking about coming over to someone's house and going to dinner with them and everyone, and it's trying to tie in with a lot more of the other MCU stuff. And I just felt like it was disjointed, and that they kind of plugged a few pieces in there to make it fit.
Okay. Yeah, for me, it's more of just that it felt like that a self-contained story featuring the character, and this is where I'll be as vague as I possibly can, but there were also references and things to a larger world that it takes place in.
Yeah.
And that to me very much felt like, well, we're trying to be very loosey-goosey here to not give spoilers, but it's the episode
The first episode
dropped last week,
yeah,
which was what,
because they did
5, I think. I think 5, 6 dropped. I want to say. So I think it was episode 5, but I could be off on that.
Yeah, I think it's episode 5. But I just felt like it was. I felt like it was good, but it didn't feel like we were at that same point in Matt Murdock's life that we've been watching in the other episodes. It felt like it was just like, hey, here's an episode of Daredevil that is Matt Murdock at some other point in his life.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I will say though, like the whole plot in the episode does seem to tie into the larger story of the season. So I think that it does have some connection there that's going to come back.
I felt like they tweaked it to make it tie in, but a lot of the stuff was just very like. I feel like they added some ultra violence in there at the very end that they maybe wasn't in there originally, because he had all this very like Scooby-Doo-ish kind of stuff going on there almost.
Well, and I will say this. I think I mentioned this to Chris when we talked about Daredevil a little bit. I'm okay with there being a strong courtroom storyline. I'm okay with there being a strong, personal demons that Daredevil has to face. I think those are parts of what make Daredevil, especially the Netflix Daredevil show and the continuation of that this is. At the same time, it feels like a little too little Daredevil in the Daredevil TV show.
Right.
And I think I would have given it a lot of leash that, but at this point it's like, well, there's not a whole lot left really. And I don't want the whole end of the show to just be that either. I want there to be some balance, of course.
I would say the last episode was great.
Yeah. So. It was good too. It was good. I've enjoyed the season. I do think that maybe I enjoyed the Netflix stuff slightly more so far. I think it's kind of where I'd have to land on that, but I mean, it's not over yet.
Kind of a weird feel on that episode. It was just like,
yeah, that's understandable.
It doesn't quite feel like it fits, but it's good.
Yeah. Oh, some interesting theories here. Okay. Yeah, that might be better for some people. This is kind of one of those shows. There's a few shows that have come out recently. This is Jay back there, by the way, saying that. It gets confusing. I mean, I could probably just highlight that one. Makes it a little bit easier to tell. There's been a few shows that have come out that have made me question the dropping everything episode at once versus trickling them out. And Daredevil has done even like kind of a different version of that, where it's like some weeks you get 2, some weeks you get 1.
Right.
Like Invincible kind of did that a little bit this season too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a few shows have done that, and it's always interesting to me because it's like, it's weird. Do they think one episode's weaker? Do they like, what makes them do that?
Right.
And is it better? I think some shows are better. Like Severance, I think, was better waiting week to week. I think that made Severance a better show. I don't know that it made Daredevil a better show. So, but I mean, dude, the first episode of this season has some great action in it. But they don't show a ton more. And the times they do show it, it's pretty quick.
Yeah, well, the very last episode, they had some good action in there.
Yeah, we're finally getting to it. I was trying to stay away from the last 2 as much as possible. Because I know those are the ones that are most likely for people to not have seen. We got to talk about a little bit of news before I do that, and we got to show off some community art. I don't want to run too far over tonight. But before I do any of that, I do got to talk about the last show I want to tell everybody about that's coming on tomorrow night on the EXP. That's going to be actually 2 shows. I'm going to get them both out right now. You can watch Welcome to Wonderland at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. It's a nice comic claim sale show, as well as Kicking It with Henri, which is another comic claim sale show coming on tomorrow night at 10 Eastern, 9 Central. So you can kind of finish out your night on the EXP with a couple great claim shows if you want to go pick up some comic books. I know, like, for example, Wonderland usually features a lot of the books that came out this week. So if you want to pick up some of those books and get them sent out to you because you missed it for final order cutoff, or you're worried your shop's not going to have any of them, they also have some vintage comics as well. Both shows that I've purchased from before on the EXP, and I highly recommend. I had great experiences with both of them. I have thoughts, Sean, but most of the ones
terrible. That's what I thought. Just needed confirmation.
Oh, terrible. That's great. They're pretty much, they're kind of the ones we thought of. So I think we agreed with you.
I think we are on the same page.
So news, when it comes down to it, I mean, really, there's a few things I have. The thing we have to talk about, though, is the Diamond stuff. I feel like that's the huge news. And at this point, as far as I'm aware, it hasn't been approved by the court, I don't think yet. I'm probably wrong about that now, that maybe got approved today or something like that. But it's basically the Alliance is going to be buying Diamond. Most likely. I mean, there's a chance it wouldn't get approved. There's a couple challenges that I've heard have come out.
It's like saying I'm going to buy myself. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. But I think that we'll assume that's going to be kind of how it shakes out. The thing that I would glean from that is, yes, not the one in Florida. It's the one in Florida, not Canada. Yes. The thing that came out from an interview from the Alliance gentleman whose name I am now forgetting, he popped on Brian McClay's podcast show and talked about some stuff with some of the guys there, like Dennis Barger and Jesse James and Brian. And the through line for every single topic was basically they didn't buy it because it's a comic book distributor. At least they're if they, assuming that they go through on the sale, that wasn't their goal. They weren't trying to buy a comic book distributor per se. I think they were trying to secure the rights to like toy distribution and some of the other stuff that Diamond does, some of their resources, because they'd mentioned like free comic book day, like what happens with that? And they're like, oh yeah, that seems interesting. But we're trying to make some money, and free doesn't sound like a way to make a lot of money. It was I'm paraphrasing heavily, but that's kind of what they said. What about San Diego Comic-Con? Oh, that was one of the things that we read about and we wanted to make sure we got when we put our bid in. Sounded like for promotional opportunities for being at San Diego Comic-Con and getting their booth. It just kind of seemed, time and time again, like, are you guys going to forgive any of the debt from comics, comic retailers or whatever? Oh no, we're going after that money. We want to make that money. Like it just seemed like it was all pretty neutral or negative to comics if you're cynical like me, with maybe one exception being that they were open to discussing, new opportunities with comic retailers who had negative feedback about Diamond in the past. So it did sound like they, at least that's what you say if you buy a company too. So I'm throwing that out there. But I heard, a little bit of like, hey, when we went out and talked to some comics retailers, we did hear that there were some bad experiences and we're going to be looking into those things. I'll believe it when I see it, if they make any positive changes there, but that's sort of what I came away with. None of it seemed like we bought Diamond because we want to make Diamond the best comic book distributor out there in the world. Like that's definitely not what I was hearing. Richard says, I heard Alliance doesn't really have an interest in distributing comics, which matches perfectly with what Diamond is doing. Yeah, I think that's a very, like, I think they do a lot of vinyl and a lot of pops, like Funko Pops, and a lot of other stuff too. That's just very much, they think of it as being adjacent to some of the business that Diamond does. Probably awesome sauce on the Daredevil front. I agree. It's probably not going to be. It's going to be a little bit different as you get to the end game of the season. I agree.
So yeah, I had misread that. I was thinking it was the alliance that was affiliated with Diamond. So it's a different alliance.
So, and that's the problem is there's several alliance companies out there. It tends to be kind of a generic name, unfortunately. I know I was doing like at one point I was doing like industrial parts manufacturers, and there's several alliances out there in just that one sector. I think this is probably the upshot of this for me is, well, Diamond's not going away overnight, which is one of the concerns that definitely was realistic at the beginning of the whole proceedings taking place. There's probably going to be some potential there for comics to be distributed to new, like I know Alliance distributes to a lot of shops that comic books weren't sold in. That's one of the questions they were asked. They didn't necessarily seem to be intentionally trying to leverage those spaces to get comic books into them, like, record stores or whatever, right? But at the same time, I mean, the potential technically exists, so maybe you could look at it that way. And again, this is all assuming that this actually goes through the way that that's being proposed on their bid, which still has to be approved by the courts, as I understand it. It's interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, this is pretty much what was going to happen, right? Valiant is going to miss Free Comic Book Day, but they, Alien, have partnered with IDW. Okay. There you go.
It's weird that they say free doesn't sound profitable. The comics are never free for Free Comic Book Day. Shops have to buy them. So
I'm telling you, I think the guy who and I think he's just, I don't know if he's like the head of Alliance. I can't remember what his title was. Bad on my part. It's been about a week since I watched it. I don't think he was aware of the detail. Like, it's not like, I don't think he was speaking from, here's my full brief on what Free Comic Book Day is. I think he was literally just going off like, Free Comic Book Day. That doesn't sound profitable.
Right.
Which is not, I mean, like, I think that's how little they cared about the comic book model. That gives you kind of an idea.
Right.
I highly recommend watching that interview, by the way, so you can kind of form your own opinions from, instead of my half remembered crap that I'm giving you from it. It's on Beyond Wednesday's channel on YouTube. CBCS should have bought Diamond because they're perfect at not giving customers their comics. Ouch. Richard just went scorched earth. Bazinga.
Bazinga.
You have been watching a lot of Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
I kind of defer a lot of this to you, Brian, is because you have a background as being on the retailer side. You had bad experiences with Diamond. How do you think you'd feel about this if you were still a retailer?
If I was still a retailer, I've probably already moved on to the other distribution people, so I'm not too excited or upset about it. Probably taking it with a grain of salt as to like, well, we'll see how it all plays out. But
yeah, and that's very, very logical to how I think so many publishers at this point, not just the big two, obviously, but the smaller publishers too, have gone with Lunar, or a couple have gone with Penguin Random House. I feel like a lot of the smaller ones went to Lunar, but some went to Penguin Random House. And I doubt, like, if at this point, if you could get pretty much everything through those two, I also know a lot of shops don't want to use multiple pieces of software, have multiple accounts running, multiple, I know different terms on different platforms and stuff like that, but you don't want to keep track of multiple vendors you're having to pay, if it's COD, if it's whatever, I can't imagine that they want that. And unless Diamond comes out and just really fixes damages during shipping and any kind of other, headaches that retailers were putting up with, and just knocks it all out of the park, I can't see anybody really using them for that distribution stuff anymore.
Right.
Except for the few publishers where they're going to still have to. Pretty much, it looks like. I guess the one I could say is like Habit. I know some shops like that just want to use like there's one shop I'm thinking specifically that even after Penguin Random House and Lunar and all that stuff, they only wanted to use Diamond because that's what they were used to, and I can understand that too.
Familiarity, yeah,
yeah. And a lot of comic shop owners aren't tech savvy. They're old school. A lot of them are still pencil and paper, pen and paper. Because Sean says my cousin was wanting to send off favorite Nightwing cover. He has the CGC it. Told him to avoid it at all costs and just get a comic capsule, which comic capsule actually has had a problem recently too. I think they've come out with a new version, but I just get an archival bag and board at this point, man. Like, or put a couple thick boards in or 60-point boards. Yeah, top loaders. There's lots of ways to do it. We have to go over comic community art because we didn't do it last week with the comics claim sale. I want to make sure we get to this. CJ Design sent in this lovely Supergirl drawing. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just because there's a lot of white space there. You guys can see it a little bit better.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I really love the shading on this. Nice job, CJ. I think I actually have 2 in here from CJ because he sent a lot of stuff off. We're making an exception because we did miss a week of showing artwork. So we have this piece as well, kind of this Muscle Beach Party, it says right there. Very much the ad on the back of the comic book. I let my to both of your points, I let my CGC membership expire and I did not renew it. It actually literally just expired, I think, yesterday. I love the anatomy on this. Really good job, CJ.
Yeah.
Actually, on both, the anatomy is really good, to be honest with you. Like, I can tell there's being some effort being put to that. Nice work.
Very nice.
Elliot Wright coming in with his, I'm assuming, Dracula.
It looks like Dracula.
Axe Drac, if you're still in here, let us know. Is that you? Is that you, buddy? You look a little different there, but I've seen you through YouTube.
He's a little upset there. That's all.
Nah, but in all reality, Elliot Wright, which is LSXT Boy, I believe, on Instagram.
Yep.
Go check out his artwork. Fantastic job there. Also love the shading on this too. While we're talking about shading, nicely done. This is from Headless Hammerhead.
Wow, love it.
Apologies for the volume slider there. He sent me the screenshot, so that's on there. He wanted to let people know this is actually available. I don't know the price on it, but it is available on his Instagram feed. So definitely go search him out if you're interested in that. But good job on that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I love that he often, if he does a sketch cover, he does something on the back too, which I think is cool. Very nice.
Very cool.
I'm getting a little Aphrodite 9 kind of angles there. Yeah, thank you. And then this was Rich, who was in here earlier and came in and left a comment, but he had to hop off. I mentioned that he had a couple pieces that were Jim Lee Jim Lee-esque, and he sent in the Batman Catwoman that I used 2 weeks ago, and then this was the other one. He's like, he loves Jim Lee drawing Wolverine. I think this is a really cool Wolverine.
That's great.
Yeah, I really like that. So congrats.
Really good job.
Yeah, all our artists, you did a smashing excellent job. Keep up the good work.
Yes,
love it.
Yes.
Zoom in and show you a little more detail on that Wolverine because I can. And he's the best there is at what he does, bub. So check that out. So go follow Rich, go follow Actual Dracula, go follow CJ Designs, Elliot Wright, Headless Hammerhead. Go give them follows on the grams and other places where they share their artwork. Check them all out. If you want to share your artwork with us and have it shown on the show and be part of our year-long community artwork that we show off, send it in. Tag Big B or me, send it to our DMs, post it on my Discord. Twitter, Facebook. Doesn't really matter. I'm pretty much everywhere. Whether you want me to be or not. Have a good night, Awesome Sauce.
See you, buddy.
Yeah, detail is really good there. James Dean said on the body of Charles Atlas. That's pretty accurate. Yes, heavy metal fembot. That's very accurate. Yeah, to what that one was. But what he does isn't very nice, bub. So I think that's kind of what we had for the show. I mean, there were a few other smaller news article type things, but not enough to keep us super late on the show. I don't think nothing super important, and stuff we can always talk about next week, where we'll have another wonderful topic. I will throw this out there. We always want to hear what you guys want to talk about. So if you have any topics you want to suggest to us, like the one we talked about tonight, or a different kind of thing, like a creator or a comic book storyline you want us to break down, or like our favorite X-Men stories, or whatever it is, right? Just throw it at us. We'd love to talk about it. And you got anything coming up this week, Big B, that you need to plug? Anything that we need to make sure everybody goes and checks out?
Nothing. So I'm teamed up with Future Past Collectibles. They're going to be doing Whatnot claim sale on Wednesday at 2:30 Pacific time. All variant covers and virgin variants, all kinds of limited to 400, 500, 100 exclusives, that kind of stuff. So make sure to check it out on Wednesday on Whatnot at about 2:30.
That's Future Past Collectibles, right?
Yep, Future Past Collectibles.
Cool. Definitely go check that out. I dropped my latest top 5 not to buy came out this morning. So after this stream's over, which will be in just a second here, you can go watch that if you want to. And gonna probably have some time to record something else this week. Hoping it comes out. I don't know how long it'll take to edit. But yeah, stay tuned. I'm starting to make more videos. More of them are coming out. Have some ideas I want to kind of talk about. How about any 2 comic characters you'd like to see in a cross? Oh, that's a cool one. Cool. Thank you for that, Sean. That one's going on our list. I can tell already there's some because we actually had one that was like best duo, and we're like, once we actually started talking, it's a good idea because we were just like spitballing. It was a good idea, but at the same time, it's like there's not a ton of them. There's like 3 or 4 really good ones that I could think of. Man, maybe there's more if we stop and really think about it.
There was more. We started like spitballing. There was a few, but yeah.
But again, they all pale in comparison to. Obviously, it's Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, and Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah. But Sean, I love that suggestion. That could kind of take that slot too.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, with that said,
crossover.
Yeah, and it kind of goes along with some of those books that I got from you from winning your channel membership award with some of those like the Gen 13 Spider-Man crossover, that kind of stuff, or the like Pit Hulk, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All in distribution. It's also April Fool's. Yeah, exactly. Well, be careful out there. Watch, the news you share that you're immediately gonna send out to your friends and your loved ones might be pulling a trick on you. I remember when the internet used to be fun on April Fool's Day, and there used to be like actually websites would load upside down or weird junk like that. Now it's just fake news releases.
Another day of massive misinformation.
Yeah. Like fake product launches. All right, everyone. Have a great night. We'll be around. Spider-Man movie title and release date just got announced just before April Fool's Day. Oh, interesting, Veronica. The new Tom Holland Spider film, or what I'll have to go look that up now. Okay, well, yeah, we'll go check it out. Anyways, have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Same place, same time, same hosts. For better or worse, I think it's for better, but you might disagree. But we'd love to see you next week as well here on Best Coast Comics. Have a good week, everybody.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.